Every year, more than 300,000 adults over 65 are hospitalized after a fall that breaks a hip. Not from a car accident. Not from a dramatic stumble on a mountain trail. From walking to the bathroom at night. From reaching for a jar on the second shelf. From stepping off a curb they have stepped off 1,000 times before. And here is what almost nobody talks about: the falls themselves are rarely the first problem. The first problem is a slow, quiet erosion that happens years earlier, built from habits so ordinary, so woven into daily life, that most people never connect them to balance at all. Today we are counting down 7 of those habits, small, common, easy to overlook, and by the time we reach number 1, you will understand exactly why balance after 60 is not just about exercise, and what you can quietly start doing differently starting today. This is general education, not personal medical advice, so please loop in your doctor about your own situation as we go. Starting at number 7. Picture a Sunday afternoon. You have had a good lunch, the couch is comfortable, and you tell yourself you will just sit for an hour before getting up and doing something. 2 hours later, the light has changed and you have barely moved. This is sitting with your feet flat and still for long, unbroken stretches, and it turns out to do something surprisingly specific to your balance system. Deep inside the calf muscle runs a dense network of sensory receptors called muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs. Their job is to fire tiny signals up to the brain and spinal cord, reporting where your ankle and lower leg are in space at every moment. This is called proprioception, and it is the hidden architecture of balance. Research suggests that prolonged stillness reduces blood flow to these tissues and dampens the sensitivity of those receptors over time. One analysis of sedentary behavior in older adults found that people who sat for more than 8 hours a day showed measurably poorer ankle proprioception than those who broke up their sitting frequently. The payoff here is almost embarrassingly simple. You do not need a gym. You need to stand up every 45 minutes or so and shift your weight. That is the intervention. That quiet hourly interruption keeps the signal alive. Number 6. You reach into the cabinet every morning, shake out a small white tablet, and swallow it with your coffee. Calcium supplement, dutifully taken for years because someone told you it was good for bones. But calcium without adequate vitamin D is a bit like having a door with no hinges. Vitamin D is what allows the gut to actually absorb that calcium, but more relevant to balance, research links vitamin D directly to muscle fiber function, particularly the fast-twitch fibers responsible for the quick, reactive catch when you start to tip. A large European study following older adults found that those with low vitamin D levels in their blood had significantly higher rates of falls compared to those with sufficient levels, even after controlling for other factors. Fatty fish like salmon, eggs, and fortified foods can contribute to intake, but many adults over 60 produce far less vitamin D from sunlight than younger skin does. Ask your doctor to check your level. It is one of the most actionable blood tests available, and the number may surprise you. Number 5. Think about your last few evening meals. Were they built around protein, or did protein quietly become a side note, a small piece of chicken next to a large pile of pasta? After 60, the body undergoes a shift researchers call anabolic resistance, meaning it requires more dietary protein to trigger the same muscle-building response that happened easily at 35. The muscles of the ankle, the hip stabilizers, the deep spinal muscles that make micro-adjustments as you walk, they all thin gradually without enough protein to rebuild them. Nutrition researchers generally suggest that older adults may need somewhere in the range of 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, which is meaningfully higher than the standard minimum recommendation. A palm-sized portion of lean meat, fish, legumes, or Greek yogurt at each meal is a practical way to think about it. The mechanism is straightforward: muscle mass is the hardware that proprioceptive signals run the software on. Without the hardware, the software has nothing to work with. Number 4. Here is one most people do not see coming. You have probably been indoors more than usual lately. Not dramatically so, just the accumulation of convenience, of streaming, of working from home or retiring from a commute. And without regular outdoor walking on uneven surfaces, the vestibular system, the balance organs of the inner ear, and the visual and proprioceptive systems gradually stop getting the varied, unpredictable input they need to stay calibrated together. Balance is not one system. It is three systems talking to each other. Studies suggest that adults who walk primarily on flat, predictable indoor surfaces show reduced coordination between these systems compared to those who regularly navigate varied terrain. A walk in a park, on a slightly uneven path, over grass, around a gentle slope, this is not recreation for your body, it is required calibration. Number 3. You have been sleeping less than you used to. Maybe 6 hours, maybe 5.5. You tell yourself you just need less sleep now. But research paints a different picture. During deep sleep, the brain consolidates motor learning, including the subtle adjustments the nervous system makes to balance. Sleep deprivation also elevates cortisol, which is associated with accelerated muscle breakdown. One study found that adults sleeping fewer than 6 hours a night had a fall risk significantly higher than those sleeping 7 to 8 hours, and this association held even after accounting for health conditions. The inner ear itself is sensitive to disruption in the fluid pressure regulated partly by hydration and rest cycles. Going to bed 30 minutes earlier, limiting alcohol which fragments deep sleep stages, and keeping a consistent wake time are among the most evidence-supported starting points. Number 2. Now we arrive at the habit that quietly surprises almost every person who hears it. You have been wearing shoes inside the house, all day, every day, because it feels clean or comfortable or just habitual. But thick-soled footwear significantly muffles the sensory feedback from the sole of the foot to the brain. The plantar surface of the foot is packed with mechanoreceptors, pressure sensors, that constantly tell the brain about the ground beneath you. Research comparing balance performance in older adults found that those who regularly went barefoot or wore thin, flexible soles indoors showed better single-leg balance scores than those who consistently wore cushioned footwear at home. This does not mean bare feet everywhere. Outdoor footwear with support remains important for different reasons. But 15 minutes of barefoot standing, or gentle movement on a soft mat at home, may help maintain the sensory richness your nervous system depends on. And number 1. The single most quietly damaging habit. You have stopped doing calf raises. Not deliberately, you probably never thought of them as essential. But consider this. The soleus and gastrocnemius muscles in the calf are your first line of anti-gravity defense. When you start to tip forward, those muscles fire within milliseconds to pull you back. After 60, they are among the first to atrophy from disuse, and the proprioceptive receptors within them lose their hair trigger sensitivity. A study published in a major geriatrics journal found that simple calf raise training performed 3 times per week over 12 weeks led to significant improvements in balance scores and reduced fall incidence in adults over 65. Not a complicated program. Not a gym membership. Stand behind a chair, hold lightly for safety, and rise slowly on your toes 20 times. That modest, repetitive loading reactivates the entire sensory chain from foot to spinal cord to cerebellum. It is arguably the single most underrated balance intervention available to anyone, and it costs nothing. So here's what we have covered today. Prolonged sitting, low vitamin D, insufficient protein, loss of varied terrain walking, poor sleep, thick-soled indoor footwear, and skipping calf raises, 7 habits so ordinary that they hide in plain sight while the balance system quietly pays the price. None of this requires a dramatic life overhaul. It requires small, consistent adjustments, made with intention, over time. Your nervous system is more adaptable than you may think. The research suggests it responds to the right inputs at any age.